I think today is the day where we are going to find out if our way of making the craziest ephemera the world has ever seen, Poppyfield Avenue edition, was successful or not. Hi, this is Luise Heinzl, and this shall become my Poppyfield Avenue junk journal. If you're new to my channel, then please don't freak out. This will become very beautiful in the end, even if it looks like a whole big mess now, okay? And I can already also tell you that this was already so much fun that even if I will not like my journal in the end, I will appreciate the process I had here, and I will consider this as a really successful thing, because I already not only had so much fun, but I also learned a ton about myself, my way of journaling, about my brain as well. And I think I could come a really big step forward in my process of making these things, and I could already grow as an artist for a little bit piece. I came definitely a step further with my skills, and I'm really hoping that these videos can help you to do the same and to experiment a little bit and to get this feeling of, trying things even if you think, what the heck am I doing here? I think that's basically it. If you're new, check out the playlist linked below this video, please. There are all of my process videos, and there you can follow along how I came to this this stage of my journal. I always mix these words up, I'm sorry. And there you can also find my Poppyfield Avenue paper premiere, where you have already seen, well, if you are new here, then you haven't seen it. Luise, concentration, please. You will find the paper premiere video in the playlist. There you can see a journal which is bound, not only loose signatures, with this new paper collection called Poppyfield Avenue. And now we are making a little time travel, so you see these videos now after you have seen the finished journal, or the bound journal, because in the paper premiere it was not completely finished, but in a bound condition, so that it's hopefully easier to imagine how this will look in the end, and to get an idea about how these papers could be used, instead of just seeing them in a loose condition on my table. That's the sense of these videos in the different order, because while I'm recording this, I have absolutely no idea how this journal will look in the end. At this point, you know way more than I do. When you watch this, you have already seen the journal. When you, if you have seen the paper premiere, I haven't seen the journal yet. I don't know what's going to happen here. So that is challenging and a lot of fun at the same time. But that is a concept here on my channel where I thought that could be helpful, especially when you are perhaps new to digital paper or new to making junk journals in general. Then sometimes it could be perhaps a little bit overwhelming to see these loose papers, and it could help to see a bound journal before you also decide if you want to have the paper collection or decide if you want to watch my videos or not. That is also a point where I thought that could be helpful to give you a little preview to the upcoming videos, and then you can decide if you want to join this series or not. And today, and there's also a blog post linked in the description box. There you can also find very detailed photos of the different steps. You will find all of the videos there as well in a chronological order, and you can also find links to the products I've used. So I'm not only talking about the digital paper, that is also linked in the description box, also separately to the blog post. But on the blog post you can also find, for example, which stamp sets I've used, which mediums I've thrown on here, links to the stencils and so on, so that you have an overview over that as well. And today I want to do something, and to be honest, I have no idea how yet. I need to find this out now while I'm doing it. That seems to be a little bit unorganized, but it really isn't. I have made thoughts about this, and now I need to bring these thoughts to life, because what I want to do is I want to take and make some snippets, which I then want to put into specific spots in this in these signatures. And then in the end, I want to remove the ephemera pieces I have stick down here. So if you're new, then, and if you haven't seen the other videos yet, what have we done? We have taken the ephemera pieces, like for example, cards, pockets, tuck spots. Here, for example, it's pretty camouflaged here somehow, but here there's a tuck spot under these mediums, and we have taped that down with some masking tape. So until now, this tuck spot is useless. It doesn't have a function. But later I want to remove these and see how the page then looks and this piece itself. So that means we have thrown everything on here after we've taped the pieces down. And that makes, hopefully, that we get really interesting spots on the pages when we remove these. Here, for example, there's a little card, or here there's a little pocket. And hopefully the pieces themselves will look cool as well in the end. And what I want to do now is I want to take snippets and glue them on the, how do you call this, on these edges where the background meets the ephemera piece. So that later on, like with the other things also, there's something of the snippets on the background and also something on the ephemera pieces, so that we get an additional layer of something to our pieces, if that makes sense. And my problem is now that I really don't know how, if, and if yes, how I need to prepare my snippets. So what I did was, I have taken these out from my snippet drawer. These are stamped with the Curator stamp set by Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz. These are also available by Ideology in a, in a package where you can buy them like they are. These you can customize with the stamp set. These will fit definitely because these are neutral colors. Can you see this? There's absolutely no problem, I would say. I can see that it matches. Look, this, for example, we can somehow see here. Can you see that? It matches. But when I have this, yes, this is from the ephemera pack. This will work, definitely, because here I have elements I have on the pages as well. But this printable, Poppyfield Avenue, is a crazy mixture of everything. Style-wise, color-wise. And because of that, I also have included these postage stamps, which are obviously totally different in style, but I did that on purpose because I wanted this really be like a really wild collection of different things. I mean, what is a junk journal? Yeah, it is a collection of different things, isn't it? But now I'm thinking, how can we, and I think we can do that. We just need to decide how. How can we customize these so that they really, really match this? And I want to throw something on these papers. Ink, splatters, don't know. Perhaps even some stamping before I cut them apart, because that is just easier and time saving. Oh, look. Well, this is a phenomenon now. What is happening here? Oh, I'm so glad that I didn't open the journal or the signatures before starting recording this. Oh my goodness. I don't know how arrogant this will sound now, but to be honest, I don't care. Can you see it? This will work. No matter what we do, this will work. When I made these, I thought I want to have something which is really, really extremely different. And especially with postage stamps. And, this paper collection has some main ideas for the theme. And one of those is letters. Letters from Poppyfield Avenue. Yeah? Letters, postage stamps. The connection should be clear. When you receive a letter, think about the postage stamps. Postage stamps are mostly bam compared to the rest. I find it really hard to find these muted and little bit also camouflaged postage stamps, which are not like jumping into your eye. Do you know what I mean? And that's the reason why I made them like this, because this for me is postage stamps. They are like really bright and bam. And I thought it's cool to have them as a part of this collection and as a part of this, this paper collection. But when I now see this, it's so crazy. Look, it works. Even if this is bam and this is not bam. Okay, I would probably not choose this purple for here, but even this, look. How cool does this yellow fit the red? What is this? I'm so confused. This is, I mean, in a positive way confused, because this is somehow for me magic now. Because, oh my goodness, this combination. Can you see that? Please take a look at this pink, this teal and this gray and these colors here. I mean, the background is here pretty neutral, but oh my goodness, that is perfection color-wise. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. Okay, that obviously means, what about this pink? The purple belongs to this. Can you see that? This belongs together. Perhaps even like this. Can you see that? Please tell me that you can see that. How crazy is that? Here I would say this doesn't fit so well, but if I focus on the purple, it suddenly fits, and that is a phenomenon for me. What does that mean? Does that mean we can do what we want in our journals and in the end everything will fit together? Obviously. Obviously, look. And I swear, I haven't had this in mind that it would be like this, and I'm really just wondering, is it because of the process? Is it because this is so busy? Is it because of this strategy we did with the ephemera and the background and everything? What is that? I need to find that out. Okay. Now I need a little break. And for your information, these videos are not like tutorial videos. They are not meant to be tutorial videos. If you expect a tutorial, then you are not on the right in the right place here for these videos. I want this to be really like my process, like a documentation of my process, and I think this was very important. Not only for myself, so that I could see that this works, but obviously also for you. I mean, why am I doing this? I'm not only doing it for myself, I also do that for you, obviously. And I want to show you that you can throw everything into a journal and it will work somehow. It will work out somehow. I think that is better English. But that being said, now I need a little break for thinking about what we can do next, because we've just seen that we can take these colors like they are, obviously, and with this it shouldn't be a problem at all. But this is too plain for me, but at the same time I have the feeling that it is very easy to overload this now, so that it then in the end doesn't look good anymore, and I want to avoid exactly that. Okay, I had a little bit more time to think about this than I wanted to have, because my phone died again, and now it was again in the fridge for a couple of minutes. Here we go. And I'm really hoping that my new phone will arrive today, because then I will be probably way more relaxed for the future videos than I am at the moment. This is etc. CMS 302. At first glance, this has nearly nothing to do with postmarks. At first glance. Here, this says Paris, but we had this discussion already. Even if the Poppyfield Avenue paper collection was inspired by the city London, we already had this discussion with this postmark and Paris. This is called French Marketplace CMS 071, and I also have my field notes stamp set in here because there is also something we could use for making a postmark, this one here and this one. And that is exactly why I have taken out this, because I think if you don't have, no, I'm convinced you don't necessarily need a postmark stamp to make something which looks like a postmark. What I then also brought to the table here is some clear embossing powder and an embossing pen, because I thought, why don't we try to emboss some of these things here with clear embossing powder after we've stamped the postmarks, so that we get some glossy elements here on these postage stamps. Why do I have such a problem with the word postage stamps? We could try something similar here. I thought that could be great because nearly all of the things in here until now are matte. And why don't we try to make something glossy? So let's throw this out of the way. Let's start with stamping. I want to have these things in different colors. I've chosen Vintage Photo, Ground Espresso and Black Suit Archival ink. I ink this really randomly because I don't want to have like a clear impression. You could even, and I think I will do that, take a cloth or so and just randomly go over this so that you get some really abstract things on here. And I think the most efficient way would be to just take one stamp first, one color first, stamp, then I just got a motivation boost. What's a motivation boost? Motivation boost. even if my phone was on holiday again. That's crazy. Let's go on with ground espresso. My goodness. If I would tell you all of the things which are happening here behind the scenes, then you probably have a lot to laugh. I mean, it's not that I don't want to tell you things from behind the scenes, but some things are just too private, you know, and it would involve talking about other people, and that's not necessarily what I want to do, because I think that's not so good. So I think this will turn out really cool. This stamp I just used was from the field notes set, and then I thought, why don't we take some of this from the etc. tag, etc. set. What the heck is going on with my brain? And this portion here, for example, is just perfect to get something to this paper. And since I'm not looking for a clear impression, but just some, you know, this postmark sludge, that is probably a new word, but that is exactly what I'm looking for. Because when you have postage stamps and they have these postmarks, then there's often a ton of stuff on them, like, you know, these little marks and so on. And here, for example, this little portion, that makes it just perfect.
Send me letters from Poppyfield Avenue, time-worn secrets, telling tales we knew were true, wrapped in coffee and cinnamon air. The cinnamon.
So then that's done, and then we can take our embossing pen. Shall we do this in sections, or shall we be very, very, very brave and just do it in one go? And what if we, I mean, my first idea was to, for example, with this poppy flower, cover the red areas with the embossing ink, and then emboss only the blossom here with clear embossing powder. But now I'm thinking, why? Why? Doesn't make any sense, style-wise. Yeah. Do you agree? Clear. Don't mix up your clear and white embossing powder. I mean, you know, the jars. I know what I'm talking about. I have been there. And then I realized that I mixed the jars up, you know, just grabbed the wrong jar when the powder was already on the piece. And I think there was one time where I even noticed it when I already had the heat tool on it and it turned white instead of clear. Speaking about white instead of clear, you could even try to emboss this in white. I could imagine that that could look really amazing. I mean, this is already a little bit white. Imagine this was pure white. That could look really cool. But this will become, oh my goodness, this will become clear when I heat this up now and melt the powder. Oh, this looks so cool. I'm sorry, I need to do that next to the camera, otherwise my phone will again die from the heat of the heat tool. But I will show this to you in just a second. So here I'm back. Clear graffiti magic, I would say. You could even hide the secret message on here. But that would be a little bit weird because we are now going to cut these apart. For these, I want to first cut them where, you know, where they end, if you will. So for example, this big one here, like so, this will become smaller in a second, I guess. Here, you can see here's by design this thing here overlapping over the others. Do I care about that now? No, because I know that later on this stuff will be not like it is now, not full anymore anyway. So that's why I just cut little snippets, just like this, in various different sizes.
Wrapped in coffee and cinnamon air, the ceremonies we used to share. Every line a whisper, a memory to renew. Send them to me, your letters from Poppyfield Avenue. The cobblestones remember us, though now they hum alone. I keep your words inside my coat, the corners worn and frayed, my footsteps lost beneath.
So what I want to do is, remember, we have taken our ephemera pieces and we have taped them down to the pages. Then we've layered all of our mediums with the different techniques over it. And now I want to add another layer with these. This will probably not go here, but what I want to do is I want to search for a spot where one of these pieces could make sense. And for me, it makes sense there where the edge of the ephemera piece meets the page. So that means, for example, like so that a part of this snippet is on the card and the other part is on the page. Because when we later on remove the card to reveal the page, and yeah, how can I say that, the design of the page, because we don't know what the design of the page is yet, then we have two pieces and we then will need to separate this here. I will show you how I will do that, and then it looks good. Hopefully. So what we are going to need is some glue. And now my wish would be that I could really spontaneously decide where I want to put these and which I want to put to which spot. Here I think, look, this color, it's just perfect for this. Let's try to really randomly stick this down. And obviously we can also mix that with the other pieces we have chosen. So for example, one of these stamped snippets could then go over this. And yes, I know now this second piece is only on the card, but obviously that has to do also with the sizes of pieces we have here. But I also think that really doesn't matter so much, because in the end it will probably look totally different than now. When I had all of my signatures in my hands before I went back to my table, because you know I did the smashing of the ink over there on my other table, because that was just faster for me to do, because I could put them next to each other, and that was a little bit like time saving. And when I did that and took the signatures to bring them back to the table here, I thought it's a really cool thing to already have the tags and pockets and so on in here, because that gives already an imagination of, I don't want to say how thick the thing will be in the end, but at least we can see or feel that it's getting thicker. And perhaps if you have already, let's say you have an old book, yeah, where you want to use the cover of the book to make the cover for your journal, and you want to reuse the book cover and, you know, upcycle that for your journal cover. Oh, the bad news, the other phone died again. I'm really close to freaking out with this video, but the good news is the new phone has arrived in the meantime, and I'm now filming with my new phone, and I'm really hoping that everything goes like it should go. I have continued gluing the snippets here, nothing else than I have done before, and nothing else than you've already seen in this video. But I think I got interrupted by the other phone, and that it turned off when I wanted to say something about the thickness of the signatures, and if you perhaps want to use a book cover you already might have and upcycle that. Because with that, if you do that and you take a book and then you cut the pages out, and the plan is to recycle or upcycle the book cover, then the width of the spine is already determined by how thick the book is. Do you know what I mean? And with that, you are then, if you want to use that and not enlarge the spine, limited to the width of the spine. And that can be a problem, at least from my experience, because you then need to stay in that width. And if, for example, your ephemera or already the collages or so you made on the pages are too thick, then it could happen that the spine is not wide enough. And with this and gluing so many pieces already down here now, I think that could be somehow avoided, because with that you can already get an idea about how thick the whole thing approximately will get in the end. Of course, I'm not talking about things we will add later now, because, you know, we can already see how thick it is now, because we are not a fortune teller or so. But if, for example, when you take all of your signatures in this stage, that is already more than you can fit in your cover, then you already know that now, and you can then act with that information and perhaps make a decision about either making the spine of your book cover wider, or take another cover, or build a cover from scratch. I find that really helpful to have the possibility to have a feeling for that now, because that way you can perhaps also organize your workflow a little better. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to continue gluing these down. I realize that I probably don't have enough snippets, but that is also not a problem. I can just print out this page and the other page again, or just use something totally different. I mean, you could also go into your stash now and look for all of those little scraps you might have left over from other projects and use those for something like this. That doesn't necessarily have to be something from the paper collection, but if you want to have everything, you know, with these images, then you could easily print that again and do the same steps with the embossing and stamping, and then you would easily have enough. So I will continue this, and then we will see again, because we then need to remove the pieces. I'm pretty excited, because that will probably be a really big surprise.
The haze of the silver moon, but your love in those words will never fade. Send me letters from Poppy Field Avenue, time-worn secrets, telling tales we knew were true. Wrapped in coffee and cinnamon air, the ceremonies we used to share. Every line a whisper, a memory to renew. Send them to me, your letters from Poppy Field Avenue. Postmarks.
So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a little break, and that only because I want to make sure that everything in here is now completely dry before I go on. Okay, so this should be dry enough to go on. So what I have here now are different tools we could try to remove the ephemera pieces here now. Let's first try something which probably everyone has, but where I think that it doesn't work so well, and that's scissors. I want to go in here can try to cut this off. Well, it works. No? Okay. When we, since we, no, as soon as we found a beginning here, it works pretty well. Here we have multiple layers. That's obviously then taking a little longer to come through it, but I'm surprised how well this works. Will I freak out if it gets a little wonky? No, definitely not, because I think that fits very, 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 very well to the whole style of the journal, and it gives a unique shape, and that is really cool. Here where the masking tape is, it works well. And even if it turns out like this, now here a piece of the card got stuck here, but it's perfect. It's just perfect. But I have to admit, holding the scissors like so, that's not so handy. And it's a pretty big danger to poke into the page with the part of the scissors which are under the card. That's not so nice. Because I can't see it so well and I can't control it so well. So that is probably, well, it would work, as you can see, but it's, what happened here? It's also a little bit difficult, but what we have here now is our final page. And what we have here is exactly what I was hoping for, except that it's a little bit wonky. And here you can see I damaged the page a little bit, but even that is not really a problem because it fits the page, but the style. But here, can you see I have some marks here from the scissors. That is probably not so nice. Here are also some scratches if you want to journal on here later. That's probably not so good. I mean, we can always cover this up with a collage or so. This will also not stay like it is, but this, don't use that. What we have here is this card now. We have a tiny little bit of the masking tape, which just came off from the page. No problem, we just fold it to the back and then it's there. And this, I mean, how would you get such a shape without this technique? Because you would probably not come to the idea to tear it off here like so. And I really like this. This looks absolutely cool. So let's go on. And let's here perhaps take one of the other tools I brought. I've also taken this pokey tool with me, where I also think that will probably not work so well. But the good thing about this is we can come under here, even when we only have a tiny slot there. Yeah, but no, that can't work. I can't cut or saw into this. That doesn't work at all. And then I thought a knife which has this here, which is nearly like a saw, could work. Oh, that works pretty well. That is very good. I think here I didn't come under the tag, but something weird happened here. Wait. Okay, now I have it. Here on this side, where we only have the texture paste, I'm assuming we can also just do it like this. Oh, here's a little bit of tape. Just like that. What to do with this? This is where my accident happened. Let's just leave this and wait. Let's immediately put some glue on here. And then the problem is already solved. That would require that I open this. You can always also later on put some tape over here so that this is not so extremely visible, or ink this and then it looks like it was done on purpose. This is a bit sticky. You can also just put that to the back. What the heck? This looks really wild. And this is then our page. Okay. And the third tool I brought to remove these are these palette knives, because I thought that could work as well. Oh yes. And this is and this is probably the best thing you could use, because wait, let's make a little starting slot here and then go in with this. Yeah, that is probably the best thing you could use, because when you put this to the paper and you do this, nothing can happen to the page, because it's not so sharp like scissors or a knife. We can come under here really good. And then we can just do it like this. Oh, that works like cutting through butter. Then we have this tag. I'm not so amused, to be honest, about these sticky pieces from the masking tape, but we have to now live with that. You can now obviously decide, do you want to cut this off here? I think in this case, since I'm assuming that this will go into a pocket, I want to just cut this straight, because then it's easier to handle, and I think the shape is a little nicer than if here was this weird thing. But if I wouldn't have cut it off, you could also put an eyelet here and add a dingle-dangle or so, but then you would need to take the tag and put it like that into the pocket. Did I just say dingle-dangle? That's dingle-dangle is a German word for, yeah, for what I was trying to say. Wait, it's somehow like tassel. No, not tassel, a dangle. But perhaps we also need to be a little bit spontaneous with changing the tools to remove these. And yeah, let the material speak to us, because first I thought I want to really have this banner with the shape of the banner, but when this is on here, that looks even more interesting, and it's a nice addition. I like that. Then we have this. Oh, and here is even I nearly didn't see that. It's even another tag on this card. Oh, look. This makes me happy. That looks cool.
The cobblestones remember us, though now they hum alone. I keep your words inside my coat, the corners worn and frayed. My footsteps lost beneath the haze of the silver moon. But your love in those words will never fade. Send me letters from Poppyfield Avenue, secrets, telling tales we knew were true. Rats in coffee and cinnamon air, the ceremonies we used to share. Every line a whisper, a memory to renew. Send them to me, your letters from Poppy Field Avenue. Postmarks wither, but time can blur what's true.
Oh my goodness. Okay, take 3. This is take 3 of trying to express my thoughts and emotions when I see what I have here now. And while I'm thinking about this, I want to mention again, if you are not new here, you know what I want to say now. But if you are new, then I would like to tell you that the soundtrack for this paper collection, Poppy Field Avenue, was performed by no one else than my dear friend Daniel Evans. You can find more about him in the description box. There's a link to his link tree and to all of his social media platforms. Please check him out if you like the voice you've just heard. And if you like him, then please give him a follow. He has done some really, really cool magic again with my lyrics and turned that into the music you have just heard. And that makes me very happy that he did it again. So, Daniel, if you're watching, then thank you very, very much for that wonderful song. It's just amazing. But this is not so amazing yet. And I had my junk journal medicine now, and I have chosen this cup, which says, "What would Luise do now?" By the way, you can get this as well. The link to this is down below in the description box as well. If you ever, sit at your desk and think, what would Luise do now? This design is, by the way, or this little quote is, by the way, a suggestion you had, and you said you want something like that. It's also available on t-shirts, stickers, and so on. And today I really need to ask myself this question. What would Luise do now? These pieces are really cool. I really like this raggedy look of them, and I think that fits really, really well to these worn and frayed letters we know from the song and the story behind this paper collection, because the song is the story behind the paper collection, yeah? And there are pages which I really, really love. This, for example, absolutely fantastic. Also, this here. This is not lined up completely exactly, but I think you can see how it will then be in the journal later. This is absolutely adorable. I really, really love how this turned out. And there are some other pages where I think that is absolutely cool. But I want to be very honest with you, because this journal, it's paper, Luise. This, what shall become a journal, is something really experimental on the one hand. And I have a little mission with this series, and you have probably already heard about that if you have seen the other videos. And also in the other videos I said, trust the process. We will make everything we have here or get here work. Also the thing with using these postage stamps, where I, first thought we need to change them up a little bit so that it really fits. They worked. And how did they work? I think they worked through our trust in the process. And when I have this here now, I can see that I have things I really like. For example, if this would be here somehow, like for example, like a flip up or so, then we would have journaling space here. And I also really like these torn edges in some spots. But there are also pages where I think, what the heck is that? Here, for example, I totally hate this. The only thing I like about this is this white splitter here. And this bridge here between the pages. But, oh my goodness, when I look at this, I think, what the heck have I done? But I decided to really talk honestly about that, because what is this? This is a process. This was an experiment. And I think it is only fair when I tell you that I don't like this, at least not everything. These things here look a little bit weird because when I cut them off, they got this, how can I say that? It's nearly too imperfect for me, even if I like imperfection. Does that make sense? It's nearly too grungy for me, even if I really like grunge. And I want to be honest, I have really a hard time now to still believe in what I said. I have a hard time to believe that this can become something cool in the end. And I could totally understand if you sit there now and think, what has she done? I will never, 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 never do something like this in my journal. I could totally understand if you would think something like this, something like that in this moment. I mean, what is this? This looks like we had cut off something. Why? Because we have cut off something, and that is somehow really weird. I was hoping for way more plain journaling spots. I was hoping for a way more framed look of this. This somehow looks cool, but how the heck can we now turn this into a page? How? I have until now absolutely no idea. But when I tell you that you shall trust the process, I should do that as well. And I will do that. And I will bring myself to this trust that it will become something beautiful in the end, which I like. I mean, beautiful in my eyes, yeah? No one else has to find it beautiful. When you have something on your desk where you say that is a masterpiece and I love it, no one else has to see it the same. You have to like it and you have to think that is a masterpiece, yeah? So that's why I'm saying it like that. So what I want to do next is I want to take my pieces, and here I've already tried some things out to make this video not too long and to like sort my thoughts a little bit. If we, for example, would put this here, I think this already looks absolutely amazing. And suddenly, when I went through this, suddenly I could see some things where I thought, okay, I would have never in my life, without doing it like this, come to the idea to take such a weird shaped scrap like this little thing here is and put it like so on here. But somehow this here connects the face of the woman with this picture here, and it's like, for me it looks a little bit like how is the water called when you cry, like how is that called? Is it, what's the word? Okay, I looked it up. I was searching for the word teardrop. This looks like a poppy flower teardrop somehow shaped through this scrap. Does that make sense? For me, somehow it's like that. And the face of the woman is only half. That represents, for me and my understanding, that she misses him. And here she has the memory when they were together on this poppy field. And this looks good here, besides this like story behind it, which I can see here, and which then, yeah, makes me happy with this arrangement. Besides that, I think when we take these pieces and put them down on like neutral pages where we have not done this here, then somehow this whole thing could make sense. This probably not, because I don't want to cover her up so much, but we have left some pages empty. And I think when we now take the ephemera pieces and put those there, where we have these like neutral backgrounds, yeah, where no ink and that stuff is yet, then this could make sense. This is probably a little bit too big, but for example, if this pocket was here, and by the way, in the printable, the pocket fits the page, yeah, it's exactly the same width like the page. This is only wider because I've torn this off from the page, and that made that this is on here now, and because of that, the pocket is a little wider. But that's a solvable problem. We could cut this off and put this to this page, and we would still have the full pocket. But look how beautifully this blends into this page, especially with this pattern here and her dress. I think that fits perfectly on here. Can you see? And I think that's now the trick, that we take those more busy pieces and put those on pages where we don't have anything with ink or whatever yet. And if we then think that this is too plain, we can still add more to the background, for example, with some careful stenciling, not so wild and not so extreme like we did it before. But I think that could give something which then could look really, really cool. And what I also want to additionally try is, and that's why I left so many pages empty. If you have followed the series, you have seen that in the very beginning when we constructed the signatures, I want to try to make a special kind of collage with some of these pieces on some of the pages. So that is something you will also see in the upcoming videos. If you want to craft along step by step, then please prepare these, yeah, by cutting or tearing them out for the next time. Please don't glue these down yet if you want to follow the following videos as well, and if you want to craft along, because I want to do something with these before I put them to the pages. Yeah, so if you want to do that as well, then don't glue them down. Yeah, just leave them as they are, and then in the next video you can follow along, and I will show you what I will do with these. Yeah, and what also will happen is I will find something, and I have already something in mind what we could do to make some really ugly areas also where this got destroyed a little bit, how we can make that nicer and include this really in the design. Because here, for example, I like this, but together it doesn't make sense yet. There is also another page where I thought that's really crazy here. Can you remember this page? I think I said several times this page didn't happen. I hated this page so much, and now somehow this is one of my favorite pages. Since I have torn this off, can I find this now? This was this small tag with the street light. Here it is. Somehow, suddenly, I like this. I don't know how that can be. It's like a phenomenon. I really like this. And when this was on here, I was like, what the heck is this? This page has changed so much. Here was this green stenciling with the crayon. And then I have thrown the other things over it. Here's even some collage paper, which I really hated. Not the collage paper itself, but on the page. And then when I took this off, I was like, oh my goodness, we could, for example, do it like so, to have a little tuck spot under here. We could think about a focal point here. Here could go something like a translucent pocket or so. I had so many ideas suddenly, and I think that shows that even something in this ugly stage can give you inspiration. And I'm really hoping that you can trust me, trust this process, and obviously also trust what you perhaps have on your desk now. Because if you have crafted along, then you might have something like this where you think, why the heck have I followed Luise's videos? Yeah, I'm really afraid that some of you might think, what have I done here? I followed her and now I have such a weird thing here and I hate it. And I'm really hoping that you can trust this and go on with this, and that you then in the end will have something cool. I really believe in that. And the only thing we have to accept here now is that we are not there yet, but we will come there. What you also could do is, and that's why I have this page here at the end of the video, so you can go in a second and try this out. I'm finished in a second. You can of course also decide to leave your pieces you have there on here, yeah, because here I thought, I love this so much. I already liked it really much when only this was here, and when I then have glued this little collage tile here with the woman, I was like, okay, this needs to stay here exactly like it is because it's just so cool. But I thought, if you have this here and you think now it's like only a collage, this has not a function anymore, you could think about doing something like this and open it here. Wait. How do I need to do this? Oh, it's already a pocket. Open it here, and then you have a pocket here. I will probably take it off nearly completely so that I can put glue under here. Yeah, so that I, when I cut it here, let's do that. Let's quickly do that. Look, when you cut in here, to get this off carefully, because it's only glued down with the tape and that's not strong enough for me. So then you can do it like this. Open this carefully. And then just take your glue to be on the safe side that this can't fall off. And then you can, holy moly, open this glue bottle, Luise. Oh, every single time. Oh my goodness. Put glue here, here, and here, not here. Bring this back into the position, which is really easy because, you have just have to close it. Let's quickly make sure that this is really pressed down well. And then, when the glue is dry, you have a pocket from here where you can then put things in, yeah, and you have used this as a functional piece, even if you haven't removed it from the page. And then it's like so. You could, of course, do that with several pieces. If you have several pages where you think, I already like this design, yeah, then just do it like this. Yeah, you could do this with tags or also with pockets. If you have, for example, something like this on the page where this was originally stuck to the page, do the same thing. Put it like so, and then carefully go under here with the knife, or you could even remove this completely. Wait, let's search for the page where this was. Let's say you have removed that completely already. It's not this page, but we can make the example with this as well. This was here. And let's say you have removed it and then you see that you don't like this and that you already know that you don't want to go on with this page, adding something else and making something cool from this. And you think, I will take this and put this here, then you could do exactly the same thing. You could also put some glue here and here and here. Then the pocket would be from here, or you do it the opposite, in the opposite direction. Put the glue here, here, and here, and then you would have a pocket where you then could, let me do it like so, then you can see it better, where you then could put something in here like so. Yeah, that could be a good idea. And I'm just thinking, that could be a trick as well. Okay, now something is happening, because that is something where I haven't thought about that before. What happens if we take this off from the page, from this spot where we had it, and put it back there, but in another spot and in another direction perhaps, like so, for example. Look, when I glue this down, like so, and I can take this and use that as a tuck spot, and I would then have this pattern here, and this additional layering. Will that work on other pages as well? Let's see. This here was here. I like that. I really like that. Ooh, look, even this. Look, then here somehow is a line now where this and this belongs together. Imagine a focal point here, a button or whatever. Perhaps this is the wrong color, but can you imagine something like this being there? I wish I had a third of these. Imagine here was a third of these wax seals. Absolutely cool. I love that. I think for some of these pieces that could be a thing. What do you think? This is what was here. So this was the position it was before. What if we then just take it, turn it around, and glue it on here like so? I already like this. And we could still have something here, like a frame with some additional things for journaling or whatever. Ooh, look at this. Oh, this is the position. Look. Look, then it looks like we had made this background here just for this pocket. Let me take a look through the camera. Yeah, I think that is cool. That could be something. I mean, I will think about other things as well, but and I'm sure that will not work everywhere. Because on those pages where we had the bigger things, I could imagine that can't work. No, this is not from here. Where's the card which was here? I can't find this card which was here. I have absolutely no idea. It has something like this here, but I can't find it. But let's make the example with this, because this was here. This was originally here. So now the problem is that the bird is upside down, but please imagine the bird wasn't here, or we would put something else over the bird. Yeah, this would not make sense, but the shape itself and the rest of the page arrangement makes sense. It could even make sense, since we have taken it off from here and these colors are here as well, that we take this and put it here. It's like so. That's cool. Okay. I need more coffee now. See you the next time, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.